Welcome to a sunny Parnell Park for this go-ahead Dublin Senior 1 Championship clash between Kilmacud Crokes and St. Brigids. St. Brigids fighting for their lives. Kilmacud Crokes had a bump on the road. They lost to Lucan, but they bounced back with a good win against Whitehall Colmcille. Should they get a victory today, destiny will very much be in their own hands as we speak. They're preparing and they're warming up over in O'Toole Park as Whitehall Colmcille are in action there today. And we'll keep an eye on that game, but we'll bring you live coverage of this one. Joe Fortune, what are you expecting from the match?
Yeah, look, you'd expect a good game, Oisín. Look, I think from a Dublin hurling perspective, first of all, it's great to see Ronan Hayes out doing a bit of a warm-up, whether he's listed or not, or whether we'll see him here today. He had a significant injury during the year, and it's great to see him back on grass again, doing a proper warm-up with Crokes. But look, Brigids, like you said, are fighting for their lives here today. You know, they've had a couple of years there. They got a couple of county finals under Johnny McGurk. You know, we're unfortunate maybe not to win one of them in particular. And they haven't won their first two games. New management, new leadership over there now as well, so it'll be interesting to see where they're at, because they were very unlucky in their opening two games, only lost by a couple of scores in both of them. Crokes would have been disappointed on day one, and look, on day two they put that right. So it's a big game for Crokes here today as well if they want to establish themselves properly into a quarter-final scenario.
Well, let's have a look at the teams that have been named for this game. One late change for Kilmacud Crokes. Eddie Gibbons comes in. They've got some depth in that number one position, don't they? Mark Rogan is steady at centre-back. Oisín O'Rourke good on frees and can roam out the pitch and create things for that full forward line of Roach, Considine and Scanlon. Even without Ronan Hayes, it's a pretty potent looking forward line.
It is, and it's a forward line that has lots of experience both at senior level and underage level with Dublin as well. And look, Darragh Purcell impresses me every time I see him. I know his younger brother is somebody that they're speaking very highly out of in Kilmacud as well. But the back line, it's a changeover. We spoke about that last year too, a changeover of the guard from what they had that reached a couple of county finals in previous years also. So Eddie Gibbons, look, I've been very impressed anytime I've seen him, Oisín. I know he's been involved in that Dublin setup as well. So he's somebody who, along with Cian McGowan, will add that bit of stability if he comes in at some stage as well. And young O'Cahasig is a fine player, like I said, Sean Purcell as well, Shane Veal, Fiona Callig. They have strength and depth, and that's before you even mentioned Ronan Hayes. So providing everything goes to plan, Crokes would want and will see themselves in knockout stages in the next couple of weeks.
You mentioned Shane Veal there, his brother Ger also on the bench today. Could be a big weekend for the Veal family. Their first cousin in action for Arbore in County Waterford tomorrow in the Western Junior final against Abbyside. Let's have a look at the St. Brigids team. Paul Winters has not been named to start. Owen Dunn the same. Johnny McGurk the same. Johnny, I don't think will be involved, but I'd be very surprised if Owen Dunn and Paul Winters don't start, injury permitting.
Yeah, look, two fine players, and Paul is somebody who's been reliable over the last number of years on frees. I didn't see Paul warming up, and also when you look at, I think it was young Johnny McGurk that was on crutches over there. If they're not available for Brigids today, you know, it could be a long day for Brigids because they're two fine players. I saw Keane hitting some frees there as well, and look, Keane O'Sullivan established himself, which I'm delighted. He took a break maybe the previous year, had a big injury, and he came into the Dublin setup this year and really drove forward, and he became one of Dublin's most impressive and most important forwards. So Brigids will need a big game out of him today, Oisín. And look, it goes back to their netminder as well. You know, Alan Nolan for so many years was such a colossus in goal for Dublin, and is not involved this year and has become the real leader in that Brigids team. So I'm sure he's driving these lads on as well, knowing that if they don't win today that they're facing into a possible relegation scenario.
Lucan and Whitehall playing at the same time over in O'Toole Park. It's looking very good for Lucan ahead of that game. It looks like they can't be touched in top spot, and therefore they will march on to the semi-finals. So what we're talking about today really is a race for the quarter-final spots involving Kilmacud Crokes and St. Brigids, and such is the nature of the Senior 1 Hurling Championship in Dublin. If you don't reach the knockout stages, you're in the relegation playoff. So if you finish in the bottom two of the group, you're going to a relegation playoff, and if you lose that, you're going down to Senior 2, because two go up and two go down. The top three qualify for the next stages. The winners of the group go to the semi-finals. Second and third play each other across the groups in the quarter-finals. This one of two games today, by the way. Later on, folks, taking on Nafina. That's at 5:30. It is live from Parnell Park, and it's a warm day, Joe, so that will have a bearing on things.
It will, and look, we spoke last night about that sun dipping down, but even driving in the car today, like, it's 23, 24 degrees. Lads haven't trained in that, and you could say nearly for the whole summer really, because, you know, we'd such a poor summer. But 24, 25 degrees, the pitch is in great condition out there. It will have an impact on the game, and it's a big game for Mark Ryan as a referee as well, because I suppose at the latter stages of championship in Dublin, we've seen, you know, Thomas Gleeson, Chris Mooney, Sean Stack being involved, and Mark Ryan is somebody who's trying to establish himself, I suppose, in that, let's call it the higher echelon of Dublin referees, and it's a big game for him too, so hopefully it goes well for him and for all sets of players. But like I said, great to see some of the players back that have been injured from a Dublin hurling perspective over the last while, both last night and today, and it's great to see Ronan Hayes back out there again doing a proper warm-up.
He's a big loss for Kilmacud Crokes. They'll want him back for the next game, and hopefully for them, the knockout stages. Of course, Kilmacud Crokes reaching the AIB Leinster Club final last season, beaten by a very good Ballyhale Shamrocks team who went on to win the All-Ireland title after a slippery enough start in the Kilkenny Senior Hurling League. Ballyhale Shamrocks have recovered. They've won a couple of games and they're looking good as they go into the knockout stages. In Kilkenny, regardless of where you finish in your league group, you go into the knockout stages of the championship, but it's whether or not you avoid relegation, have momentum, and in theory can give yourself an easier knockout game to start with. St. Brigids in the huddle. Joe, what do you think is being said in that huddle?
Honestly, I'd imagine if they're without the 3 or 4 players, Oisin, who you mentioned earlier, it's going to be a tough day for them. They're going to look inside themselves to really go at Crokes. But like, you'd have to give Crokes the big plus here. If their mentality and their first day out in regards to where they were out in O'Toole Park wasn't good enough, and they were beaten by a better Lucan team on the day. And this is a team that's won the last 2 county finals in Dublin, and I suppose from a Brigids perspective, they want to stay like last night in the game as long as possible. They've got a really strong spine to their team, providing that everybody's available to them. But from a Crokes perspective, look, the carrot this year as well, Oisin, for the team that wins a Dublin championship, I think is huge personally. I think it goes back to maybe 2018, 2019, when you look at the format of where Leinster is, and I would hope, and you would see, I suppose, the teams that come out of Dublin this year will have a real chance in Leinster if they can get their ducks in order over the coming weeks and months.
Well, the players getting into position. The first of 2 games live on Dubs TV today. Don't forget, you can join the conversation via social media. Don't forget to hashtag GoAheadDSC. That's the one hashtag for football and hurling. It is back to football next weekend. Kilmacud Crokes in the purple and gold, St. Brigids in the red and white. St. Brigids, as you mentioned, have recently been to county finals. They were unfortunate to lose in 2020 in the COVID year. You nearly forget that year given the nature of it. And they'll want to march on to the quarterfinals, but they have to get the victory today. A little bit of shouldering before we even start, just setting a marker down.
That's just Bill kind of welcoming Brigids to Parnell, I think, over there. Bill is out in the half-back line today as well, which is interesting. Crokes have got some really good young players coming through, Oisin, from another 20s perspective with Dublin, young O'Rian and Lucy. Kenny as well was in the forwards for them, I think, before in the last couple of games, but he has played at underage level for Dublin. But as we said, there's no Paul Winters there, from what I can see anyway, and there's no sign either of Owen Dunn. 2
big losses for St. Brigids, and that will outline how seriously injured those players are, because if you could at all, you'd get them on the pitch. Dara Purcell, good direct ball, nice turn as well by Roach. Roach bearing in on goal. Roach, good save by Nolan, or did it come off the post? I'm not sure which. Either way, it's juggled well by Cathal Doyle and sent away by Jack O'Neill. And Kilmacud Crokes have won the free in. No, it's a free the other way. Tug of the jersey.
Yeah, Mark had actually put up his left hand first, but then went with the right hand and afterwards just for a pull. But explained well to Bill as well where he was coming from. He got through very easy there, rushing inside, and I think it was the post that got it, possibly a save from Nolly in goal, but went through the middle very, very easy. And every time Dara Purcell gets the ball, he's so exciting in regards to the way he distributes it. And again, going inside here, really good shot, went to the far side of Nolan. I think it hit the post.
Can Brigids give themselves an early boost here? Cian O'Sullivan striking it. And unfortunately for Brigids, Cian O'Sullivan missing it. Gibbons went long, just slipped through the fingers there of Sean Purcell. But he's able to win it back. Sean Purcell, he'll take his point. Good score.
Yeah, I spoke to you about him in the warm-up. Just basically, there's big talk about Sean out in Crokes and in Dublin underage circles as well. I've been really impressed any time that I've seen him, and he's following in his brother's footsteps as well. And he's getting an opportunity here as well at senior club level, which is huge for him as a young player too.
Jack O'Neill, a very experienced operator, confidently taking the ball out of defence. He's got some speed, doesn't he? That's a clever hand pass. Down the line it goes, Kieran O'Sullivan. Blocked down. O'Sullivan wins the break. And O'Sullivan just runs out of pitch. Bit of a loose clip there by David Lucy. Brigids have it back. O'Connell went inside. The shot is launched by Brian Moran. It's a second wide for St. Brigids.
Yeah, hard to see from home as well, Oisín, that you can see inside. They've left young Purcell inside on his own, and there's 40 yards of space on either side of him. So if Crokes get a ball, they're going to fire that ball into space because he has the pace to get to it. This could be an opportunity now to do that.
He just swallows up the ground when he moves, doesn't he? Yeah. That's a bit more direct. Purcell was the target again. It's going to fall here for Will Walsh. But Purcell steals in. Purcell against Nolan. Purcell just went wide. Nolan did his best to put him off. And that's a first wide for Kilmacud Crokes.
Yeah, he was very brave when the ball went in. He didn't win it first time, and you know he just that tenacity to get at it as well. Like, and he was very, very unlucky. Nolan came out, made himself big, and avoided that goal.
And Purcell showed bravery there, because the last goalkeeper you want running at you is Alan Nolan. He does not have any concern for his own personal safety. He will just launch himself. Grogan sweeps it nicely to Conal Loreen. Now it's Cian Ryan. Fumble by Dara Purcell. Retrieves it much to his credit. Grogan wants it back. Purcell taps it to Grogan. Nice turn by Grogan. Can he escape there from Cian O'Sullivan? He's fouled. It's a free out.
Yeah, Cian stood up strong there and well. And look, you know, he'll be a bit disappointed to give that away. But Crokes are moving the ball faster, even though it was a poor ball out. But they're definitely more competent in what they're doing at the moment. And Brigids are kind of struggling to get a foothold in it yet.
Dara Doyle, he was smothered there. Here's Oisín O'Rourke, who's a master distributor. Commentators curse Cathal Doyle. Kellett, another experienced campaigner. Kellett looking to equalise. Oh, he was desperately unlucky. Gibbons goes to Grogan. He's about to be closed down, but knew the danger was coming. They go long. Knocked down by Roach. Roach set it up for himself, and Roach sailed it over.
Yeah, good score. Good ball in, gave Roach a chance to win the ball, and you can hear Nolly in the background as well, trying to keep the defenders on their toes. But again, I go back to Purcell's involvement in this. Like he's like a wizard. Every time he gets near the ball, he just has that ability to see the step ahead. But here's a good puck out from Nolly.
James O'Connell trying to escape from Conal Loreen. James O'Connell. Good score.
Yeah, good score.
Needed score.
Yeah, and a good puck out, and it all came from Nolly's puck out, and you know, a good twin his own ball to get on ball really, really quickly, and a good score.
Fergal Whiteley puts it over. That's a really good score by the Crokes captain, Fergal Whiteley.
Their forward line looks really dangerous, Oisín, like you said before the game, without Hayes as well. But when you put in Oisín O'Rourke, Whiteley, Ciaran Conway, young Purcell is really impressing me so far, and that's without Considine and without Hayes.
Alan Nolan taking his time, aiming it down the line, looking for Cian McIntyre. He's beaten to it by the fullback who's come out to man mark. That's David Lucy. Sent on by Conway. Oisín O'Rourke, the sniper supreme, misses. A second wide for Crokes.
Yeah, Oisín's calling that himself. He actually feels he went over, but he's actually just slipped off the six there now as well, and giving him an opportunity for Nolly to puck out.
Brian Moran. That's really good defensive work. Springing out in front was Brendan Kenny. Purcell. He finds a way through. It's Dara Purcell. Dara Purcell still going. He's got a free man inside. Nolan does really well, but Crokes, in fairness, butchered the chance. Dara Purcell, well, his quality of delivery needed to be a bit better inside to Brendan Scanlon. Dara Doyle. Brian Hayes chopping down, free out.
Yeah, Nolly did well there, Oisín. You know, Purcell broke through inside. The pass wasn't great, but again, Nolly came out nice and big and made himself nice and big under the ball as well. But Purcell, like his turn of pace there, like straight in on goal. Could have taken it himself, I think, rather than passing it. But just the ball hits the grass and gives Nolly every opportunity to recover.
This one falls kindly for Kilmacud Crokes. Bill O'Carroll. Gibbons. Crokes will work this. Cian Ryan. Great take under real pressure. Fergal Whiteley. He's tugged back, free out.
Yeah, good refereeing there. You know, was going to give him the advantage, but didn't see anybody ahead. So good refereeing by Mark to make sure that Crokes got the free when deserved. A lot of lads heavy. Like, look, the heat that's there already. You can see it in the body language of some of the players already. That it will have an impact until, I suppose, that kind of second phase hits in, because it is such a warm day. But Crokes are well on top here at the moment.
Oisin O'Rourke yet to score in this game. Does that have the legs and accuracy? Yes, it does. Trying to take that out of the sky is Cian McIntyre. Cian McIntyre's done really well. Grogan is chasing him. McIntyre still going. McIntyre regathers. Scoops it outside. Dara Doyle. Dara Doyle. And that is a third wide for St. Brigids. Gibbons gets it going quickly. The target was Fergal Whiteley, who switched wings. It breaks kindly for Cian O'Sullivan. Cian O'Sullivan. O'Reen chasing him. O'Sullivan still going. And he's fouled on the way through.
Yeah, Cian is a serious turn of pace. You know, took the man on there as well. And again, I suppose the Kilmacud defender is questioning where the foul was, but Mark was on top of the game and on top of the ball, so gives Cian an opportunity, a chance to get a score that's needed by Brigids, because they've had a couple of poor wides there as well, and Crokes are doing an awful lot of the hurling, maybe overcomplicating things a small bit, but you can see how they're trying to work that ball through the lines, even compared to last night, Oisin. They're trying to work the ball through the lines that little bit better and find the man in space.
O'Sullivan puts it over, as you would expect him to do. His first of the game. Bill O'Carroll. Conway tries to gather under real pressure there from Mark Kavanagh. Conway still snapping away at that one. Scramble for possession. Whiteley didn't get there. Brian Moran. One back by Crokes and O'Carroll. Short dish to Brendan Kenny. David Lucy. Really well gathered, tidy stuff from Roach. Roach, is that going in or out? Off the woodwork. Second time in this match that the woodwork has been struck, one on each team. Breslin misjudged it, and it's a line ball for Crokes.
Just really, they're only in first and second gear really here at the moment, and there's no real sense of urgency about them. You know, the ball that's going inside while they're trying to work through the lines is just that half second slow, and that's something for Kieran and the management team maybe to address at half time.
Here's Breslin. Dispossessed. O'Carroll. That was a very clever bump on Scanlon, or was it? Him and Moran coming together.
I think Jack kind of gave that little cornerback nudge on the way out there as well, which the two lads seem to be fine now as well, but just a collision, and Mark was right to blow it up, and I'd imagine either he'll go with a throw ball here, I'd imagine.
In it goes. It'll fall out to Whiteley. Not the cleanest of strikes, but it was accurate. That's all that matters.
Yeah, it was good enough, and he's doing that for Dublin as well for years, as well as Crokes. He's a great sniper on those breaking balls, and Brigids were a little bit asleep on the throw-in ball. Mark threw it in quite quick, and you know, a couple of defenders had their backs turned, and it gives Crokes another chance to put a score on the board.
Grogan, good catch. Looking for Whiteley, who has time and space. Whiteley into Roach. Roach loses out. Great full back play by Sean Brady. And Brigids clear their lines. O'Carroll tries to send it back to where it came, but battling for it there is James O'Connell. Also there is Brian Hayes, but Brigids have the possession. Cathal Doyle out in front. Diarmuid Breslin. He was fouled there according to the referee by Cian Ryan. Cian O'Sullivan puts it over.
Crokes' movement under puck out is really, really impressive. Oisin, the break from that line, and Gibbons again with a great puck out, wins the ball early.
Bill O'Carroll has picked out Purcell. Purcell looking to find a way through. Purcell takes on the shot, and Purcell gets a really good score, his second of the game.
He's a really good player, Oisin. They've found a little gem in him now, definitely. But I just noticed as well, from a Brigids perspective, I don't see Andy Dunphy there at the moment either. And you have, obviously, Will Walsh is in there, wing back. And if that's Andy Dunphy and Owen Dunn and young Johnny McGurk as well and Paul Winters.
4 players who
have
would
all
make
played
a
senior
county
level
team.
with Dublin.
Yeah, I was just to say, they'd make the county team, let alone a club team. Breslin. Kellett. He couldn't quite get there, Cian O'Sullivan. Tidied up nicely. Here's Mark Rogan. Had to kind of slide into it. That's intercepted. Very loose play from Crokes there. Mark Kavanagh guided it to Kellett. Kellett miscued his hand pass, got it back up, trying to steal it back. Here is Oisin O'Rourke. Dara Purcell. He's found Roach. Roach has found O'Rian.
He's a man inside.
He does. O'Rian goes for himself. Oh, what a goal!
A rocket. An absolute rocket. But on the left-hand side, he had a man clear, and we just actually spotted him just off the side. It was young Scanlon had got, and I'd say he would have got a kick up the, you know what, if he hadn't given it to. But what a finish!
This is worth seeing again and again and again. O'Rian had Scanlon outside on his left. And he put it the only place that Nolan couldn't get it. That is wondrous.
Here's Brian
Hayes, that's not bad either. Running onto it, Dara Purcell. Purcell inside, Sean Purcell. Sean Purcell! He's having a fantastic game. That's 1-2 for him now. 2 goals without reply for Kilmacud Crokes.
I said it to warm-up, even watching him in the warm-up from a coach's man, whatever you call it, perspective, looking down at him, he has everything. Looking at his sense of balance, his speed, his wrists, and again to win that ball fizzed across. And I said it as he broke inside as well from a Brigids perspective. You don't need another goal here now. You don't need to concede another goal. And look, they need to settle this down, or it could be a really long day for Brigids.
Well, we talked about that with St. Brigids. They're missing 4 players who would get on the county team, let alone the club team. And maybe we're seeing the cost of that now. But they're a proud club, they're a good club, they have a good team out there, they've got good players out there, despite the ones that they're missing. They're not done yet. And whether that was by accident or design, they just kind of took a few seconds there to settle things down. Jack O'Neill, I think it was, who went down injured.
What a finish, Oisin. 2 unbelievable goals by Crokes, and it just shows that strength and depth they have without Considine, without Hayes. They've 2 gems in those 2 brothers there now that if they can mind them and coach them right, they'll be serious hurlers for Crokes for the coming years.
Adam McGurk, Mark Kavanagh, running onto a Cathal Doyle, trying to find James O'Connell to free in for Brigids.
Yeah, probably a handy one as well, a handy free inside, but it gives them a chance to curtail that last couple of minutes, because they went from being 3 or 4 points down to all of a sudden now being 9 points down with 2 outstanding goals.
Cian O'Sullivan will score his 3rd free of the game here. Well, their last point came in the 13th minute, but since that, Kilmacud Crokes have scored 2-1.
Again, just while Keane is hitting the free, the ball goes over the bar, but look at the linear, the way they've set up here now, and you can see Quayle and Conway dictating everything just to allow this pocket of space for Gibbons to hit. Here it goes.
Gibbons looking for Purcell and finding him. Purcell to Whiteley. Whiteley out in front for the run of Dara Purcell. Dara Purcell goes for the pass. It's a little bit too casual. It was anticipated by Jack O'Neill. O'Neill is pounced on by Scanlon. It's a free out. Well, that's the danger. You want to score a goal every time now.
Yeah, and look, just a couple of decisions by Dara there. He know himself that ball wasn't good enough. If you give that, if it goes up in the air like that, it gives the defender a chance. And Jack is good enough to stop that type of ball going in. But they just seem to be opened up very, very easy around the middle. And missing Johnny McGurk, young Johnny McGurk around the middle, who's been a huge player for them over the last number of years. Before you even talk about the other lads, is a massive loss for Brigids.
They're battling here, and they have been unlucky in 2 of the games so far against Bridget or against Kula and Lucan. Like, they put up good displays. They weren't hammered or anything like that. And they have won the free, which is lucky because that one didn't go over. Releasing that shot was Cian O'Sullivan. Keep the energy up is the shout. I'm not sure if that's coming from a Brigids player or a Crokes player. Well, Cian O'Sullivan has delivered 2 frees in a row, and it has steadied St. Brigids. And now James O'Connell tries to deliver one from play.
It's wide.
Yeah, he's unlucky.
And it's the first poor puck out that Eddie's hitting from the goal, because you give the compliments from a co-com point of view in regards to their setup, and that's the first poor one, but he's put a good one into space here now again for Fergal.
Whiteley putting the pressure on centre-back Brian Moore in there and winning the line ball. Going over to him was Caolan Conway. Sean Purcell making his way out. It's left behind by cornerback Cathal Doyle. And now it's Oisin O'Rourke. And it's a point for Crokes.
Yeah, and that's smart by Oisin as well, because he had a player off his left-hand side. I think Purcell was gone again, and a younger, inexperienced player that might go again, like you said, for that goal chance. But just keep the scoreboard ticking over, because if they get a few more here, it's going to be a long afternoon for Brigids, I think.
Dara Doyle. 3 in for Crokes. Yeah, caught it 3 times.
Really impressed with those young lads in the back line for Crokes at the moment. I think Brendan Kenny's doing really, really well. Young O'Reen. Look, Grogan has had a huge year for Dublin as well. He played midfield for most of their games this year at senior inter-county level, and they have him more in a defensive role this year as well. And Bill is strong over there, kind of doing a lot of talking as well, and getting the young lads to do a lot of the work as well. But they look impressive at the moment. But it's against the Brigids team that were without maybe 4 or 5 of their stronger players as well. So we have to caveat it with that.
O'Rourke. Does this one have the legs? Yes, it does. 2 in a row for O'Rourke. 1 from play, 1 from a free. Cian O'Sullivan. He's got Breslin ahead, but Breslin is outside rather than inside. O'Sullivan tried to flick it inside, wins it back. O'Sullivan! Oh, he's desperately unlucky. It hits the butt of the post. Here's Grogan. Cian Ryan, Grogan. That would have been some goal, and a much needed one. Whiteley receives it, but he'd run out of pitch, and it's a line ball to St. Brigids. Let's have another look at that chance.
Yeah, look, Cian got inside and actually made the decision. Took too long to make the decision, and got a bit lucky on the second ball, but had it in his hand, and he's just so unlucky. And it kind of sums up their day really at the moment as well. Like they're some of their leaders, in fairness to Mark Kavanagh and a few others out there as well. Nolly, they're trying to keep the young lads going, but that was a really good goal chance, and just very, very unlucky not to get it.
Well, they can't buy a break this season so far, St. Brigids. Sullivan. Breslin. Good block by Grogan. And the break is swept up by Kilmacud Crokes. David Lucy was there.
Look at the pace of Purcell here now.
Brian Hayes to Whiteley. Whiteley takes on the shot. And it's all happening for Crokes, isn't it?
It is, and again, you look at that, like maybe the couple of times before that they came out of defence and it was a little bit lethargic. It was hand pass to me, beside you again. But that time they come out at pace, and I think if you're Kieran, you're looking at that this week. How do we improve? Their level of intensity coming out of defence needs to be as good as what it was there. And like Purcell made a run there. If he had kept going, the centre was open again.
Scanlon with the attempted block down. Didn't work out too badly for Brigids, who try and work it out. Will Walsh. He's bottled up. O'Rourke is battling hard there, as is Caolan Conway. And the free-in is won by Kilmacud Crokes.
To give to Mark Ryan as well, he's been very obvious with his, it's nearly like the YMCA sometimes, but he's very obvious with his directions to the players about why he's doing certain things and why he's given it, and I think that was a definite free to Kilmacud.
Oisin O'Rourke about to strike the free. Cian McIntyre off camera is getting some treatment. And that one went over.
Yeah, look, you're looking at 11 points now after 22 minutes ahead. And the big thing, I suppose, for both teams now, Brigids need a couple of scores here to keep this respectable before half-time. But also from a Crokes point of view, if you're management over there, you can see, one or two of them just, at times can be a little bit lazy with their distribution. And Kieran will pull up on that, and they've serious options on the bench as well, Oisin, to bring in.
Jack O'Neill marauding forward. He's such a warrior. Miscued his hand pass slightly. He was unlucky.
He was, and look, he's a warrior for Brigids for the last number of years, and he's a tidy, hard, tough, tenacious cornerback as well. And
Purcell has gone down off the ball. Play continues. Here's Bill O'Carroll. He wins the free for the high challenge. Purcell is still down. Well, there's a debate as to whether or not the linesman saw it. The referee, Mark Ryan, goes in to have a word. Purcell looks like he is sore in a place where you don't want to be sore. Well, you don't want to be sore anywhere, but particularly there. He's okay, he's up and running. He's having a fine game. He's already scored 1-2. And his goal was wondrous. As was O'Rian's.
Yeah, he'll go for this, I'd say.
Well, there's only one reason he's out to take it.
Yeah.
Gibbons gets in on the scoring act and makes it 2-11 for Kilmacud Crokes, 5 points for St. Brigids in the 24th minute.
Yeah, young Purcell doesn't seem to be happy with that coming together with Jack O'Neill there as well. So look, at this is all experience for him too, but just Jack needs to be careful because he does play on the edge. You know, he's a cornerback you'd want in your team, but he can play on the edge at times. So just young Purcell needs to be careful because Jack has been around a long time.
Well, whatever happened off the ball. It could have easily been accidental. Cian O'Sullivan. James O'Connell. O'Connell with Grogan chasing, trying to set up a goal chance. Can they get one? They need one. They haven't got it. They were unlucky. Cian O'Sullivan hit the side of the net.
Yeah, he has to go across, doesn't he? He has to really go across with that one rather than kind of hitting at the near post, and it gives Gibbons a chance even to save it, but he has to go across to keep his body with that chance.
Gibbons. Looking for Whiteley. Bounces away from him. Here's Roach. Oisin O'Rourke was there as an option, but Roach took on his man. Purcell is trying to get a bit of free space. He's got it. Purcell, brave block. They get another chance here, but he just couldn't get it in hand, Dara Purcell.
Yeah, just overworked, wasn't it? Rather than just kind of breaking it to hand, and even the second attempt at getting the ball as well, it was just too... That's something that they have to improve on going forward as well, because you won't get this amount of chances against some of the top teams. Nolly did really well as well there, Russian. You have to give it to him. Like, there's a lot of ball going in, and Alan Nolan's one of the best keepers in the county, at times in the country as well, so he's been really brave there on a couple of occasions.
Hayes, Kilmacud Crokes moving the ball really quickly out of tackles, and I appreciate that's a rugby saying and a rugby phrase, but that's exactly what they're doing. When they're going into contact, they are getting the passes away. Jack O'Neill. Dara Doyle. Looking for Breslin. Ryan intercepts. Purcell has time to look. Blocked by Doyle, but hoovered up by Brendan Kenny. Brendan Kenny, that's going to drop.
It's a great score.
Oh, that's fantastic. I thought it wouldn't have the distance, but it did.
He's a slight, like he's not a. Some of the Crokes lads are really big physical players, but young Kenny he's a fine player, Russian. He's come out of cornerback a couple of times. You've mentioned on the far side over there, a pace. You know, he's really, really electric when he's coming out with the ball, and definitely somebody that's exciting for the future.
Yeah, he's a young lad, so give him time. He'll build the bulk. It looks like he doesn't need it at the moment, does he? He's doing fine as it is. Well, while we've got a bit of treatment, let's look at some of the key moments of the first half so far. We've had some goal chances and some goals. This is one of the ones that wasn't taken.
Yeah, this was Roach really direct, and the ball went inside it. Again, like, the centre seems to be open an awful lot, and in fairness to Nolly, he's keeping guard on that really, really well. This was really unlucky by young Purcell at the start, just barely missed the post.
Brigids have had a decent goal chance as well. They've actually had two. They hit the butt of the post and hit the side of the net. We'll have a look at those maybe at half-time, but play has restarted, so we'll stick with that. Here's a man who got one of those goals for Kilmacud Crokes. Conor Loreen gives it back to Gibbons, who's already got one and fancies two. No wind to speak of, by the way, here in Parnell Park today. It is a beautiful summer day in the autumn. Gibbons looking for his second point and not getting it. Third wide for Kilmacud Crokes. Nolan assessing his options. And just going long. Looking for James O'Connell. Cian McIntyre rebounds around. Grogan has to turn on the jets. He's going to be beaten to it. Here's Kieran O'Sullivan. Crokes get it turned over. Grogan back to Gibbons. Ryan.
Brigids need more out of their forwards, even if they're not winning their own ball, Oisin, they have to work harder to get that ball. Like, that's like a training session for Eddie coming out there, and Nolly will remind him of that at half time as well. Whatever we're being beaten, but your work rate needs to be better than that.
Whiteley guides it over after slack play from St. Brigids. Well done, Eddie, is the call, because he kind of moved it out of defence quickly and cleverly. Whiteley now 4 points from play. And down on the ground over on that far side is Cian McIntyre.
I think that's harsh on Bill, to be honest. You know, Mark is right up at the play, and in fairness, he gets the one to call it, but Bill came out there and look, there was a possible tangling of legs, but I think it's a harsh one on Bill coming out. Like, you're probably going to ask me in a few minutes now in regards to what do you say at half. Like, what you can say at half time, the work rate, whatever about the scoring, whatever about the wides, whatever about, you know, missing, you know, so many influential players, like, your work rate has to be better up in the forwards. And like, Nolan's putting his body on the line there as well, and young Jack O'Neill and that are working hard back there, but there has to be better work rate out of their forwards.
Cian O'Sullivan makes it 4 frees for him. And a first score since the 19th minute for St. Brigids. Comes off the hand of Whiteley. Oisin O'Rourke tries to win it. Whiteley, O'Rourke. Mark Kavanagh battling for St. Brigids, as is Kieran Kellett. And it falls the way of Whiteley. Crokes have advantage. They might need it. Whiteley scores his 5th of the game.
Yeah, good advantage by Mark, referee-wise there as well, because when you look at it, Scanlon got a big hit to the chest, and he's going to call the player back now for a yellow card. But good refereeing allowed the advantage and allowed the Crokes player to break through.
Well, if we're being honest, we thought that this would be the closer of the 2 games today. So far, that is not the case. A lot of that down to the players that Brigids are missing. It can't be understated how important those players are.
No, can't, but you give massive credit to the players that Crokes have available to them as well, and I suppose the work that they've done in the last number of years to bring their underage players through, and even the Dublin hurling coaches that have brought those lads through from a minor and 20s perspective as well over the last 3 or 4 years. The Crokes management obviously last year made a big decision to go with youth, and it paid off. They won a county final, got very close to Ballyhale, and some of these young players that are coming through now, Orion, Lucy, you know, Brendan Kenny, Mark Rogan, Brian Hayes, Purcells, like, they have a serious array of talent coming through, Oisin, but look, it'll all be judged in October. Like, there's no county finals won on the 2nd of September.
Jack O'Neill looking down the line, probing ball for Kieran O'Sullivan, falls the way of Cian O'Sullivan. Cian O'Sullivan showing his pace, showing his skill. Cian O'Sullivan, he'll go for the pass, and it went behind his intended target, and it was just pulled on there by Grogan, who half volleys it away. Nice turn, nice take. Michael Roach. He's got Sean Purcell inside. Roach puts it over, his 2nd.
Yeah, it's frustrating for Brigids there because they're calling steps, but if you look, like, Cian O'Sullivan is working really, really hard, and he's doing his best to get the other lads, but they're just not thinking at the same wavelength whatsoever as what Cian is. And look, Cian is one of the best forwards that Dublin have, so there's going to need to be a resetting of the mood maybe at half time, and it's going to take leaders. Nolan, you know, Mark Kavanagh, and a couple of those guys are going to have a talk at half time, because if not, it could be a really, really long second half with a team like Crokes, who are still really only in 2nd or 3rd gear rushing, if we're being honest.
It was good defending by Brady, just didn't allow Roach to get the possession. Kilmacud Crokes start again. Conway off the woodwork, the fourth time that the woodwork has been struck today. 2 each, actually. Lucan 3-8, Whitehall Colmkill 110 is a half-time score, by the way. So just to repeat, Lucan 3-8, Whitehall Colmkill 110. That's the latest score from O'Toole Park in the other game in this group. Lucan looking good to top the group. Lucan, who've been really impressive under Charlie Carter so far. The aim is Breslin. Ryan is following him. Breslin. Breslin there again, free in 1.
Yeah, and look, both managements here, I suppose, even from last night, from a Vincent's and from a Lucan perspective, like the group stage, the group scenario, that the setup that Dublin have now with the two groups, Oisín, you can be as effective. Like, you need to be in a quarter final. Most teams will want to go directly to a semi-final. But again, it comes down to you can be so positive and so good in the group stages, and then when it comes to the business end of the year, you don't do it. And I suppose that's where teams like the Crokes and Ballyboden and Coola have that experience over the last couple of years, that when it gets to the business end of the year, that they know how to win semi-finals and finals.
The other thing is as well, and I haven't actually seen Lucan play, as the half-time whistle blows, or is blown by Mark Ryan, and Kilmacud Crokes is leading 2-15 to 7 points. I haven't seen Lucan play football this year, so I don't know how many dual players they have.
Not as many.
The Fianna have quite a few, so it would have been great for them if they could get straight to a semi-final, which can still happen, but they have a bit of work to do anyway. We'll concentrate on them in a while. Let's have a look at some of the highlights of the first half from this game. It has been Sean Purcell's half, I think it's fair to say. He got the first score for Kilmacud Crokes. This was good, but it wasn't his best.
Yeah, he's really impressed me, and I spoke to you earlier on, when we came in earlier on, just watching him in the warm-up. He's electric, his pace, his hands, his wrists, he has everything. And again, that bit of size that he'll put on in the next couple of years will help as well. Like a lot of Dublin hurling supporters would probably love him to be another foot or two taller, but his feet are electric, and he's like the brother. Like, he's a really good mind and a really good, sound hurling brain as well. And Crokes, in fairness to them, Oisín, you have to give it to them as a club. They're producing these young players, and obviously Dublin are developing them as well. And Dublin needs better forwards, and it needs more forwards, and the more players that we can bring through to that level, and the more players Dublin bring through, the more beneficial it's going to be in the long term. Again, Keane, like, I feel for Keane O'Sullivan, because he's kept him, I suppose, somewhat in regards to frees. But his work rate, he's working very, very hard. He's making a couple of runs inside, and just a couple of times where he hit the butt of the post as well at one chance, but a couple of times he's just thinking a little bit ahead of maybe some of the others. And all you're asking in the second half is work rate. Just give me that bit of honesty up front, that we're not stopping, we're not allowing Eddie Gibbons hit handy. But this fella, he has everything, two sides. He breaks into that space, and he's not afraid to show his bit of physicality as a young player yet either. And this is without Hayes and without Constantine. It's great to see. Obviously, Ronan's down there and he's doing the water today. He's involved in a capacity as well with the team at the moment, and it's good to see him back on grass again. But that's without Alex Constantine, who seems to just be so unlucky with injuries or whatever at the moment. I didn't see him there today. Maybe Electric Picnic has taken its toll.
I doubt it's Electric Picnic.
Like, this was a great chance. Keane possibly could have given it a bit earlier, then didn't, and then got it again. And really good shot, which he's done all year for Dublin as well, and just hit the bottom of the post. Like, people at home will see the scoreline against Whiteley. It's coming on breaking ball a lot, doing as he's done for Crokes for the last number of years. Oisín's been mature in how he's approached it, because they got a couple of goals, and then you had a couple of the younger players kind of overplayed it, and Oisín just kind of settled them down. Eddie had a good free here as well, but you have to caveat all this with the fact that Brigids are missing Andy Dunphy. They're missing Owen Dunn, they're missing Johnny McGurk Jr., they're missing Paul Winters. It's a massive, out of a club team, that's a huge hole in a club team. And I suppose with management changes earlier in the year as well, a lot of responsibility falls on that man in the goal, and it's hard as well on a day like today to keep things positive, but he has to in the dressing room now.
Whiteley, who's been immense. We've shown you some of the points, they've been decent. We're going to have a look at the Kilmacud Crokes goals. 2 of them scored, 2 of them absolutely amazing. One of them by Conall O'Rian, who is the son of Garrod O'Rian, who'll be well known around Crokes. Played Dublin under 20 this year. I imagine he'll go on to play senior. He's only going into 6th year in Coláiste Own, believe it or not. Here is another example of Kilmacud Crokes scoring a fine point.
And again, even just that stat that you said, they're just going into 6th year this year, having played Dublin under 20 and is playing senior club hurling. And I think that's for years maybe. You have to give clubs like, I suppose even the likes of Crave and going back to years ago, they gave the younger players a chance and an opportunity when they were old enough, and they felt they were good enough. And that's a huge thing, I think, for Dublin hurling as well. The more senior club hurling they get before the county teams commence again.
Well, let's have a look at Kilmacud Crokes' 2 goals. That was great from Oisín O'Rourke to get it back under control. Set it up for the runner coming through. That was Dara Purcell. And you could see kind of Sean probing around, looking for it, but this is the Conall O'Rian goal. And what a finish that was.
What a finish, but again, he takes a touch, it falls to ground, and you have to question there as well, will he get that time and space in a game against Lucan or Ballyboden or Coola? Possibly not. This is the best of him. You know, his hands, his feet, the awareness of where Nolan was, and the finish as well. I know the other one looks spectacular, but you'd question where some of the defenders were as well to allow him to have that time and space to hit it.
Well, half-time here, Kilmacud Crokes 2-15, St. Brigids 7 points. It's looking good for Kilmacud Crokes to seal a spot in the quarter-finals as early as this evening. For Lucan, well, it's looking good for them to get top spot and go straight on to the semi-finals. They're leading against Whitehall Colmkill at half-time in O'Toole Park. We'll be keeping an eye on that match, and we'll bring you the second half live very shortly here on Dubs TV. Later on, we've got Folks against Nafina. That one throws in at 5:30. That's in the other group, and we'll give you the detail of what might happen, what could happen there before that game. Remember, you can join the conversation via the hashtag GoAheadDSC, and of course you can find out all about results, fixtures, tables and everything else that's going on in Dublin GA via the Dublin GA website and the social media channels. Half-time, Kilmacud Crokes 2-15, St. Brigids 7 points. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to Parnell Park. We're about to start the second half of this go-ahead Dublin Senior 1 Hurling Championship encounter of Kilmacud, Crokes and St. Brigids. Brigids down 4 top quality players and they are struggling. It's Kilmacud, Crokes 2-15, St. Brigids 7 points. I think it's fair to say Sean Purcell has torn it up for Kilmacud, Crokes so far. Was a big part of the plans for the Dublin under-20 management team this season, but broke his finger quite badly playing for Trinity in a colleges game, so missed out on that. Has made some recovery to play here, and he has really impressed, scoring 1-2. Not the only one for Crokes. Whitehall Kilmacud trailing against Lucan in the other game of the group going on at the moment in O'Toole Park. So Lucan look like they are going to cruise into the semi-finals as group winners. Kilmacud Crokes will play Coola next time out. And as it stands, it looks like that will be a battle for second and third. So they'll both go through to the quarter-finals. But in theory, you'd get a better draw if you finish second, but I don't think there'll be much in that. I'm not sure there's such a thing as a better draw in the quarterfinals. Joe Fortune, what do you think needs to happen for Brigids here in the second half? What can they do to try and arrest the slide?
Yeah, look, it's a good question, Oisín. You'd hope that Alan and a few of the lads inside had a real honest conversation in regards to work rate, because I think the whole idea of trying to win it is done, but in regards to their work rate in the second half, that has to improve, because even in second gear, Crokes were well ahead, and you just hope for Brigids' sake that it doesn't become too big of a lead at the end, because it's not good for them as a club or as a team either, because they're a very proud hurling club as well with a lot of really good people involved. So let's see how the first 6 or 8 minutes turn out here for them.
If only we had someone who was involved again in a massive comeback against a team in purple and gold already this year. That's picked up very well by James O'Connell. They need goals. Can they get one here? James O'Connell. Oh, advantage was being played and O'Connell finished it off. Now the thing is maybe the Crokes players heard the whistle and stopped, but O'Connell will still say, I was in goal, why are you bringing me back?
Yeah, I don't think they did hear it, Oisín. I think he could have probably let them go an extra second, but look, Brigids are very disappointed, I suppose, with that, because it was an opportunity and a chance to get a goal and set them up for the second half. But look, Mark made the decision, the whistle is blown, and Keane gets a chance to take it. But you would have imagined that it could have went on maybe for a second or two longer. It's
a 14-point gap. It will be reduced here by Keane O'Sullivan. I presume he's going to tap it over and not go for goal. Not at this stage, anyway. Keane O'Sullivan takes his point. The first of the second half. Gibbons. Intercepted by Kavanagh. Good take, Brian Hayes. Making the run is Dara Purcell. Dara Purcell steps inside. That was really casual but really good. Dara Purcell
great score.
Gets a great score, yeah.
And people don't see or say talk about the work rate that Oisín puts in sometimes at 11 for Crokes as well. Like, he turned that ball over there, a lost ball, a poor puck out actually, that Kavanagh ended up just kind of spilling on the ground then as well. But Oisín's work rate to allow that breaking ball is very impressive, Oisín.
Kieran O'Sullivan. Great work by Ryan, poked it out to Hayes. Hayes with Tom Mohan chasing him. Hayes still going. Hayes bringing it a long, long way. Hayes is a player outside. That's Roach. Goes to Roach. Roach! What a goal from Roach. Made by Hayes, finished by Roach.
Way too easy. Like, he ran the hole into the field with that ball without being, without anybody even putting a shadow on him, and Alan will tell him that's way too easy. And you don't need to concede another score here now straight away.
Well, 1-1 within the space of a minute has Crokes cruising. Here's Conway. Well, they were already cruising, but they're even further ahead now, obviously.
Like, look, a really, really good run by Hayes, but was allowed to go 70 yards with the ball, and then for the forward to break away, and it's way too easy for Crokes at the moment.
Alan Nolan going long, going deep. Picked up by Keane O'Sullivan. Keane O'Sullivan has Breslin with him. Here's Kieran O'Sullivan. That's a good score.
Good score, and I feel for Keane, because Keane is really trying hard in there. We said that, and that's why Nolly's going long to him now, because he's only really the person that's given him the only option of winning the ball there. But the gap between the two teams at the moment is very, very big. But look, again, we spoke with that honesty of endeavour maybe at half time, and that's something that the forwards need to really kind of up it here a small bit for Brigids.
Line ball for Kilmacud Crokes. Good turn by Conway. Advantage has been played. Here's Whiteley. Whiteley sails it over.
I don't think he's missed one today, Oisin, in that kind of a capacity when the ball breaks off the ground or he gets an overlap and run. He's really, really effective as a shooter like that.
Just one of those days where everything goes over, but it doesn't just happen. It comes from practice. Here's Nolan. Intercepted by Bill O'Carroll, who moves it on to Dara Purcell. It's a good take on the run. It's Brian Hayes again. Now taking it on is Conway. Whiteley wants it. Roach. Good save by Nolan.
It's funny, like you saw a clip during the week, I'd imagine as well, of a game down in Limerick. That was as good as what was produced at Limerick club level as well, except for the finish at the very, very end. Like their stick pass and their ball to hand, their movement is really. Now again, it's without a shadow on their back, and that's something that Brigids will have to look at in the next couple of weeks, because they're probably facing into a relegation game now as well. But Crokes, when they up the gears, are very impressive. And again, it's without, Costigue is on the line there as well. Keane McGowan is on the line. The two big boys up front, Hayes and Constantine, are not there as well today. So like they've strength and depth, and I suppose it's all about their timing now as well and who they come up against in the latter stages.
Does the referee want them to go again? He wasn't even looking in the direction of the Kilmacud Crokes goal. Yeah, he does want them to go again. So it looks like it will be Whitehall, St. Brigids, Plunkett's and possibly Fawkes in the relegation. Fawkes can do something about that today, but it will be tough against Nafina.
It will, and Fawkes, I know from talking to their manager as well that they're missing 4 or 5 starters from their team last year as well. And look, it's a tough place to come up to Division 1 Senior A hurling in Dublin as well, with some of the established clubs that are bringing through really good underage players, Oisin. And for Fawkes and for Whitehall have accounted for themselves quite well. That's a good score for and I think it's important for the morale of this team now going forward for the next few weeks. You don't need Look, I've been in that scenario. You don't need a big hiding before a big game as well, because it's trying to get the troops back together again. And I think young McGurk is over there on the line in a cast, so he doesn't look like somebody who's going to be available in the next couple of weeks.
And remember, it's not a case of going into the playoffs and having 2 games to save yourself. You only have 1. Here's Roach. Grogan is making the run. Grogan getting it forward, not overly tidy. Has it in hand now. Grogan, it's a tidy finish.
It is. Sums up his year, like he's had a really good year with Dublin as well. A player who he opted out, I think, a couple of years ago from the Crokes team and from the Dublin setup, and I suppose that maybe the change in Dublin setup brought him back in this year, and he had a really impressive year, and he made a mistake or two on the way through, and Jack was trying his best to get back, but a good finish. And like you're already looking at 19-20 points now, and there's only 6 or 7 minutes gone in the second half.
Not a great pickup, but a great finish.
Yeah.
Breslin out in front, trying to get to it before Lucy. Another one of the young stars, David Lucy. Dara Purcell. Oisin O'Rourke. He's found, well, he was trying to find Purcell. Purcell's still going after it. Nolan gets there ahead of him. Nolan fumbled it under real pressure from Purcell.
It was.
It was definitely out. We're very close to it. We're right over it. Nolan, in fairness, did well to suss the danger, to spring off his line, but...
Look, and again I go back to, and sometimes people think maybe I bring my own setup into this a bit too often, but my point on this is really clear. Nolly came out there, and Purcell, they're 19 points up, and I speak about work rate and you talk about tenacity of tackling, and Purcell makes his whole way out to turn the ball over, and Alan was unlucky for the ball to drop over the line. He's going to yellow, and he's a proud Brigids man as well, and he knows they're under the cosh here big time. He's going to get a yellow card, and he just needs to be careful because they don't need to lose him in the goal as well. But the work rate for Purcell there was so impressive, and that's all you can ask, as a manager. At times you come up against better teams and better opposition, and you're limited in what you have available, and you just need the Brigids players to work harder going forward. That's what all they can ask.
Free in for Crokes. Roach pushed over.
Look, there's bigger challenges ahead for Crokes, and you can see Eddie Gibbons coming out to talk to the players there as well. The constant thing for me is when they're getting ready for the opposition to hit a free, they're so quick to get into their setup, and even from a defensive structure, they've a free here now, and Gibbons is out roaring at the defenders to get back, get the setup right. Who's going out. Again, Brigids have done something similar now with that linear thing, and you can see that Crokes are leaving that extra defender out on the left-hand side, which means that there's only one place that Nolly can hit this after it, and it has to go right, or else they overload that side.
O'Rourke is in a hurry to take this, but the referee is speaking to Jack O'Neill, so he has to wait.
And here's where, like, again, you know, you need somebody from the line from Brigids to say this, because they don't need to lose Jack O'Neill or Alan Nolan or, you know, anybody else to a silly red card here now that might stop them playing in their last game. That's really important that you hold your discipline now. Second yellow, fine, but we saw last night, you know, a rash or a silly decision can miss the next game, and that could be a huge game for Brigids.
Will Walsh kind of dropped into a bit of space in the 45, but then he was covered by Oisin O'Rourke. The referee, yeah. Just about to say, the referee just holding things up at the moment because the sub is being made by Kilmacud Crokes, and I think Brigids are making one as well. Kavanagh.
Yeah, Conal O'Reen has gone off there for Crokes.
That's a good take, a fine take by Kieran O'Sullivan. And that's wide, unfortunately, for St. Brigids. That shot coming from Tom Mohan. Got into a good position, but just couldn't keep it on target.
You don't see it at home, but again, you look at Purcell's movement all the time, Ocean. Even if you had a player come on him, like, he never stops moving, and when he goes and he's gone, he's a nightmare to mark around the middle of the field.
Nolan trying to get in there and block him down was Sean Purcell. Picked up on the run by Brian Moran. Mohan is the target. Mohan tries to gather it. Here's Mark Kavanagh for the run of Cian O'Sullivan. Cian O'Sullivan had Breslin as an out ball, but he'll take it on himself. And that's a good score by Cian O'Sullivan.
Fine player rushing. He's really carrying that forward line. Mark Kavanagh did really well there in the half-back line to spray the ball inside, but he's carrying that forward line himself at the moment, Cian O'Sullivan, and a good score off his left-hand side.
Whiteley. Dara Purcell. Oisin O'Rourke has the time to drop it and pick it up again. Slips it off to Whiteley. Two of the old stagers at this stage, I think it's fair to call those two. Shane Veal has it. And Veal is tackled hard by Brian Moran. And that's his second yellow, and he's gone. Well, it's going from bad to worse for St. Brigids. St. Vincent's had two players sent off last night and managed to win, but they were in a far better position.
Look at the body language as well. It's tough rushing at the moment for some of the players down there, because even coming out at half time, it's not an easy place to be, you know, when you're coming out and you're 15, 18 points down at half time and you're trying to kind of resurrect that dressing room, and Crokes won't stop. Again, you look down here on the line on the right hand side, you can see Ronan Hayes. He looks back to himself again. They're obviously giving him an extra week or two to get back into contention for the latter end of the championship. But I suppose the big thing for Kieran now is I suppose the whole idea that he's taken off young Scanlon there now as well, and you know, you're bringing in somebody like, you know, a young player, Colin Crane as well, and it's all opportunities and chances at senior level to get Kilmacud, I suppose, to the idea being that they're the last team standing in October.
Colin Crane, a Clareman who's got a great hand, very good handballer apparently as well. Gibbons. Well taken. O'Rourke is the target. He's trying to sweep it up now as Dara Purcell. Free out for St. Brigids. Well, they've got a game against Coola to come, and that essentially decides second and third position. How do you approach that from the Coola and from the Kilmacud Crokes point of view?
I think one thing I'll say about the management, the Crokes management over the last couple of years, they've been very brave with their decisions in regards to the turnover of players. Like, there were some really established players there that they really blended the youth in really, really well, and took not a gamble, but they saw potential in that minor and 20s team that were coming through from a club capacity. So I suppose the big thing for me is that winning feeling. The first day out against Lucan, they just looked like a team. Maybe because there were so many of them involved in a county underage and senior capacity, they looked just devoid of any real energy out in O'Toole Park. But they've got their ducks in a row now, and it'll take a fair team to stop Crokes this year if they can get everybody back on the pitch. Oisín.
Lucan very decent as well. They'll have a say in this championship. Purcell, Grogan is with them. Outside it goes to Oisín O'Rourke, who just about keeps it in play. O'Rourke guides it over.
Yeah, and if somebody, again, Oisín's, he's been a really big player for Crokes over the last number of years, and at a Dublin level as well. And if you saw that down the country, people would be clamouring how great of a score that was, and it just comes natural to him on so many occasions for club and for county as well.
Sean Brady gets it away, getting in there to steal it back. Brendan Kenny. Good catch by Nolan. Nolan just firing it long, but I think Ryan will get in the way. He does. Breslin is trying to win it back. Ryan breaks it. Now it's Cian O'Sullivan. Cian O'Sullivan wins the free in. That's really good battling by Cian O'Sullivan.
Yeah, it is, yeah. I've said it from minute one. He hasn't stopped, and he's made the runs, and he's looked for puck outs, and he's been brave, and he's taken the man on. It's just, I suppose, the options that he has around him. It's hard at the moment to keep company. Will, and there's some of those, like I said, some of those Brigids lads are very proud clubmen as well, and they just need to more work rate around the middle and their forward line for when the ball goes in. The Crokes are not being tested here at all today, and look, Brigids. Well, that's me telling the truth that they're not being tested, and there will be bigger tests ahead over the coming weeks. And sometimes a game like this is nearly no good as well, Oisín, because you think you're better than you are, and it gives the lads maybe a false sense. So I'm sure training this week will be tough and hard, and for Brigids as well it will be, and they'll get the lads back on the pitch, and believe me, they'll give that last match a real go as well. There's a lot of proud hurling people in that club, and I've no doubt that they'll give the next couple of weeks as much as they have.
Good defending by Jack O'Neill. O'Neill did well. Cian O'Sullivan, who scored 2 points in the second half, back to O'Neill. Lovely footwork by O'Neill. Did really well to get out of trouble there. A chop came across him from Conway, and it's a free to St. Brigids.
Yeah, well done, Jack. He came up along the line, and the funny thing about it is maybe 3 or 4 years ago he might have reacted to that, and he's a leader on the team now. He's becoming one of the elder guys there, and that's good to see as well that he held the discipline, because they don't need to lose Jack O'Neill over the next couple of weeks if they're going to maintain their senior status as well. Just a bit loose with the hurl there from Quayle, but Mark was right up with it, and a good decision again. There's Keane McGowan coming on there now. He's really impressed me, young Kenny. He's really impressed me today. He's very athletic. He's like that Shannon Morey from Clare. He has that same kind of athleticism about him. Like, he drives up the field, and a really impressive young player. I know he was looked at in the forwards, but for me, he's a really tidy cornerback, and somebody has a bright future ahead.
Yeah, another Dublin under-20 player. That goes wide. Gibbons. Bursting out to it is Shane Veal. That's a very good ball. Dara Purcell takes it. Purcell will go for it. Cian O'Sullivan tried to get back to hook him and actually did enough to put him off. Cian O'Sullivan, we can't say it enough, him and a few others are working incredibly hard. You'd swear there was a point in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, Dara will look at that in a reel during the week, or when they're assessing their performance during the week, and that's not good enough from his level. He's capable of better. He should have moved the feet more, and even the man inside, he could have played that ball inside. But Keane's work rate has been exceptional for Brigids today, and like, you feel for him because it's a heavy defeat, but he'll keep going till the bitter end.
Nolan falls to Breslin, drops it under pressure from Ryan. Breslin has it back. Can he get a shot away? Kieran Kellett gives it back to Breslin. Breslin. Wide. Gibbons. O'Rourke. Dipping ball towards Roach. Well taken by Roach. And that's off the woodwork.
Yeah, the last 5 or 6 minutes now have been poor from both teams, to be honest. It's the real life has gone out of the game.
Well, it's done. It's hard to keep it going, isn't it? Like, there's nothing worse than a one-sided hurling game. And that's Ryan who goes to ground.
But you watch Oisin O'Rourke, you watch Keane O'Sullivan, you know, you see some of the guys that have been around at that high performance level, Oisin, as well, and they keep going all the time. You know, Quaylen Conway the same there as well. It's just when you're coming onto that Crokes team now, you want to be in the next day. And I suppose they're giving opportunities and chances to some of the younger players. You'd hope that from Crokes' point of view that Considine is okay, and like we said, Hayes is obviously on the way back from looking at him there. And Brigids will regroup as well. They they'll get Winty back as well, and they'll get some of those players that have been missing. You know, Andrew Dunphy's a massive loss today. I rate him really, really highly. Owen Dunn as well. You know, Johnny McGurk looks like he could be out for the rest of the year if he's on crutches, and you know he'll be a massive loss for them too. But look, they'll regroup during the week as well, and they'll have a couple of honest words this evening, and then realise that without those players today was just a battle that they just weren't going to win.
I say there's nothing worse than a one-sided hurling game. For me, it's still better being here than at Electric Picnic. Nothing wrong with Electric Picnic, it just wouldn't be my thing. I'd much rather be at hurling. Michael Roach is being substituted. He's performed well for Crokes today. Got a good goal.
I think Crokes are going to change their keeper as well, which doesn't happen too often. But Ben Hines had done really well for him in a couple of games, and
well, there's some battle between Gibbons and Hines to get that number 1 spot. Here's Sean Purcell. Over to Darragh Purcell. Brian Hayes. Brian Hayes puts it over.
He's done well today, Oisin, around the middle. He created that goal as well by the run down the centre at that time. He's a big, strong, athletic boy as well, and he's well able to take a score, and that's a good score off his right-hand side. And yeah, just the life, like there's 10, 12 minutes here now that you'd nearly hope Mark would nearly, you know, the watch will go forward from.
Tom Mohan.
Good tackle.
Yep, very good tackle by Mark Rogan. O'Sullivan. That's a fantastic strike by O'Sullivan. It deserves far more plaudits and reaction than it's getting here, given the nature of the game, but wonderful stuff from Cian O'Sullivan.
He's a top-class player, Oisin, and that won't, no matter if it's 20 or whatever it is today, points at the end of this, you know, you won't take away from the fact that Keane has got back from a really bad injury, had a good year with Dublin, and he's somebody for the next couple of years who needs to be minded and will become one of Dublin's top forwards if he's given that opportunity.
We're seeing again that coming out to meet at fullback Sean Brady. Sean Purcell battling for it. Using the feet there, Fionn O'Kellah. Fionn O'Kellah has a man inside. Will he go to him? No, he goes back to Oisin O'Rourke. Oisin O'Rourke plays a loose enough one, and it's snaffled up. No, it's left behind. Shane Veal did well. Sean Brady dispossesses Veal and gets the possession. That's just a really loose play, really frantic play. It's a line ball for Crokes. Running over to try and gather it is Sean Purcell.
But look at the space that Darragh Purcell's in over here now, if you can see him. He's on his own, there's not a man within 30 yards of him.
Darragh Purcell is the aim. Darragh Purcell gets one away. Darragh Purcell gets a score for Crokes.
Yeah, look, again, just too easy, and you could see that for, you know, maybe for 10 or 15 seconds before it happened. But again, like, you know, it's again just from a Crokes perspective, just a small look. It is hard to keep going, and it's hard to keep going, but you want your name on that team sheet for the next day, and that's where you have to give it to like Oisin O'Rourke. Their standards and their levels of distribution is really, really good. Fergal Whiteley's put in a good shift. Mark Rogan impresses me every time I see him. I think he's really, really come on in the last number of years. It was a great score, just as you see it.
Grogan makes it 1-1 for him. Just went over the stick there of David Purcell, who came out to try and meet it. He is, of course, a nephew of David Lucy, who is a nephew of Stephen Lucy from Limerick. One back by Shane Veal. Has Whiteley with him. Veal takes it on himself, and Veal gets the score.
Yeah, good score. Took a lot of steps there as well. The Brigids lad's not happy, but again, he's a big boy and he's well able to move forward. Credit to Jack O'Neill, credit to some of those, Mark Kavanagh. Like they're trying as much as hard as they can, but the amount of ball that's going inside to them, you know, and a lot of it comes down to work rate up front. The work rate up front is not what it should be, but the amount of ball that Crokes are getting on here is just, it's very hard to defend against.
Brian Hayes. Dara Purcell is to his left, but he'll take it through the middle again. Can they get the goal? The answer is yes. Good finish. Fionn O'Kelly.
He's done that twice now, Hayes. He's gone straight down the middle, and you know, a good finish. Nolly came out, did as much as he could, but they're down a defender as well, and it's just it's too easy for Crokes, and it's I don't think there's any more kind of whatever analogies or superlatives you can put on this. It's just it's been too easy for Crokes today with the players that Brigids have missed.
Spoke about David Lucy there a couple of moments ago. Uncle Stephen is watching on Dubs TV today. What a player Stephen Lucy was.
Absolutely, and you know, he can be very proud of that young man down there as well, because he's put in a good performance here today. And all the Crokes defenders, in fairness, I don't think they've been tested, apart from Keane O'Sullivan has been impressive for Brigids, but all of the Crokes defenders today have been really impressive. And like I said, credit to management as well. They've backed the youth in the last couple of years, and it's definitely paying its dividends now. And like when you see Keane McGowan coming in as one of the older ones, you can see the real effort that they've put into youth out in Kilmacud, so credit where it's due on that.
Whiteley. Quaylan Conway. Trying to get away from O'Neill. That is not easy to do, and O'Neill is still battling away, and it's a free in for Crokes.
Yeah, they're looking for more goal. Some of the younger players that have come in now realise that, you know, they want to get their name on the team sheet for the next year, for the next day. But Quaylan has been impressive all day. He's been a very good player for them over the last number of years, and he directs an awful lot of their puckouts. Both himself and O'Sheen have been really impressive, surrounded by some of the young players. Young Hayes in the middle of the field has done well. Grogan, like I said, impresses me every time I see him. And Bill O'Carroll, in fairness, like Bill has been a 3 for them for the last number of years, so they have him at 5 this year, or at the moment, to see where he is. And Bill won't let you down for his lack of effort as well. So like there's actually some headaches coming up for that Kilmacud management to get the best players on the field.
O'Rourke puts that one over. We're about to get an update from the other game in the group. Lucan 318, Whitehall Colmkill 121. That's a full time. Whitehall Colmkill gave it some rattle, but Lucan coming out winners in the end at 27 points to 24 when you make the conversion. Table ramifications to come.
And they've done it. In fairness, we've seen a couple of Whitehall games, both of us this year as well, and like they've put it up to some of the teams. It's not an easy step up coming up, but look, when you have the players like Dara Gray, you know, Owen O'Donnell, you know, Cormac, I'm sure, is back hurling now as well. Like they've got some really good players there. So in fairness to Whitehall, they haven't. The whole idea of stepping up hasn't flattered them. Like they've done really well, and whereas some teams are finding it hard to put their foot out.
Fionn O'Kelly, it's just all happening, all flowing for Crokes today. They were dominant anyway, but then that sending off in the 42nd minute really helped them out. Brigids down to 14 men. Here's Keane O'Sullivan, who's doing the work of 3 men. Hines. Went behind Veal. Swept up by Kavanagh. Kavanagh driving on. Can Brigids get a goal or another couple of scores? Not like that, they won't. Here's Cian Ryan. Oisin O'Rourke has only one thing in mind.
Like that extra man has given the Crokes lads an awful lot more space, obviously, but somebody like Oisin, the maturity there as well, just put the ball over the bar. Like he's done that even at a stage earlier in the game when it became too kind of over. It's just a yellow card there for just Brigids needs to be careful with that. That's young Adam McGurk as well, and just need to be careful because they need everybody over the next few weeks now to make sure that they don't. Serious strength from Keane.
I think Cian O'Sullivan got away with the push there. They deserve a break or two. They've had no luck in the championship so far, and that bad luck continues. He was unlucky with that one. Here's Quaylan Conway. Whiteley. Whiteley, what will he do? Go for the point and get the point.
Yeah, and again, he had the option inside there as well. That if Callick had broken away on his own and wasn't being marked, and just put the ball over the bar.
7 without reply from Kilmacud Crokes.
Like when some teams and some clubs, and look, it happens at inter-county level as well. Like when you lose 3 or 4 of your better players, it's very hard when you don't have that backup there to bring in players, and it's just something that's unfortunately with Brigids this year. They've obviously had some significant injuries and lads away and whatever else, and it's been a tough, because they were so unlucky in their first couple of games. But like today is just a sign of where Crokes are and where Brigids are for this week, and look, they'll move on and they'll regroup hopefully over the next couple of weeks. And it's another ball.
Looking for, I should have said 8 scores without reply for Kilmacud Crokes. 1-7 in total. They were going for the 9th there, didn't get it. Nolan clears these lines. Who would a break for? Going after it there was Luke Purcell. Keane O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan blocked down, smothered. Purcell will try and rescue it. Tangling with Ryan. Conway. Crokes just working it out. Hayes. And that's how to play. A little bit loose, a little bit lax from Kilmacud Crokes. You can kind of understand it at this time.
Yeah, and again, that's something that Kieran and management will look at during the week. That's not good enough distribution-wise. But like you're what at this stage you're nearly 30 points up, and I suppose that kind of lapse in conversation or concentration. He'll go at this.
Is there another goal there for Crokes? Whiteley, happy to take the point. Now, for Kilmacud Crokes, it's a victory, but is it nearly too one-sided? Is it a case that you actually don't take anything from a game like this?
It is, yeah. I said it earlier. Like you might, some teams will think, you go into a situation like this and you don't really get a test. But look, you have to give the credit to where it's due. They've brought the players through. They've really established the young players into that team, Oisín. And yeah, I think the management they've won 2 county finals. It's not their first year with them, so they'll realise today wasn't a challenge.
Here's Hayes off again. He's got O'Rourke just to the left. He'll take it on himself. Off the stick, over it goes.
Yeah, just really briefly answering the question, I don't think so. I think you can see, look, Ronan Hayes down here as well, and he's constantly at them. Alex Constantine has to come back, young Kostic has to come back as well. You'd hope that they had 1 or 2, I know, went away last year. Young Butler went to Australia as well. So
that's right.
Like, yeah, if they can get the best team on the field, they'll take fair stopping. But I'm sure the likes of Lucan and Ballyboden and Nafina and Kula will have more to say about that as well.
Keane O'Sullivan tried but failed ultimately. He's played well. Purcell. Great pass, great delivery. Crokes using the space well. Here's Sean Purcell. Sean Purcell doesn't deliver.
Yeah, he's been quieter in the second half, and I suppose testament to Brigids as well. Like they've marked him a lot better in the second half. But
Shane Vila's after breaking his hurley there. Keane O'Sullivan. He's going to drop in the square. Can Brigids get a goal? Not right now. Here's Ryan. And that's the game. 5:30 to 14 points, the final score. Kilmacud Crokes assured of their spot in the knockout stages for St. Brigids. It is the relegation playoffs. I'm not sure there's much more we can say, Joe.
No, I think we've said it a lot during the game. You'd feel for some of the Brigids lads down there because, in fairness, like I said, they're a proud hurling club, and I'm not going to demean anything I say. It's going to be a couple of weeks now where they're going to have to regroup after a performance like that, get the lads back on the field again. And look, there's no better man than the likes of Alan Nolan and stuff to make sure that the players are held accountable for this as well. And look, going forward, they'll have a lot to say, and they'll hopefully push on and keep their senior status. From a Crokes point of view, Oisín, look, testament to where they are. There's going to be massive challenges ahead for them to try and retain that third title in a row. It hasn't been done in a while, and in fairness to them, it's testament to what they've done with the youth in the club. But I think we've said all we can say really in regards to the game itself.
Well, let's have a look at some of the highlights of the second half. Kilmacud Crokes scoring 3 goals.
Yeah, and this was the start of it, and maybe there was another advantage there. He was going through, and it was something that they were a bit annoyed about at the time. And Mark, in fairness, ref the game very, very well, but it's something that he could have possibly got a longer advantage there.
And just to remind you, Lucan have won the other game. Whitehall Colmkill gave it a good fight, but Lucan winning it in the end. Brigids did battle, they did work. Cian O'Sullivan amongst their players who can hold his head high. And that was a good score from Cian O'Sullivan, the first of his 2 in this game, both in the second half. But Kilmacud Crokes were irresistible today. They used the advantage well there, Whiteley, putting it over.
Yeah, Whiteley sniped around a couple of scores. It was around the breaking ball. But, you know, at every moment in the game, really, really impressed with young Purcell. The two of them, you know, they glide across the grass. And again, like we said, you know, they're going to bring back in Considine and Hayes over the next couple of weeks as well, and that'll add to their forward line. I thought Oisin was really mature in his performance today. He really led the line, and Quillan Conway just directs all their puckouts, and it's very obvious that, you know, he's the brains behind an awful lot of what they're doing in the from midfield upwards in regards to their movement. He gets the young lads to move in the pockets, and that he can pawl into the base. Oisin was incredible with his frees when it was needed as well. But look, there's bigger tests ahead. Keane tried hard all day, and I think, like, he's a proud Brigids man, and in fairness to him, he didn't stop from start to finish. But this fella here, like, you know, he's a magician as a player at times as well. It's just like, you would have loved to see his senior career extended on a little bit longer than it was.
So we're looking at the points from the second half. We will have a look at the Kilmacud Crokes goals very shortly. They took their score as well today.
Yeah, Hayes did really well around the middle of the field. You know, every time I see Mark Rogan, I've said to you a couple of times that he's really, really impressed me. I was really impressed with young Kenny in the corner, very athletic, can cover ground. He's a good man marker as well. They took him off. You know, Dara Purcell in the middle field made a couple of decisions that he has to improve on as well as a player, but he's a constant thorn in team sides. Like, his movement around the middle, he never stops going. That was a great score by Grogan there, but again, there will be bigger tests for those players in the next few weeks.
It was a great dispossession. Wonderful stuff by Shane Veal, and a good score. Oisin O'Rourke gets really low over the ball when he's striking the frees. His system, though, is effective. And that was a decent one from play, but by that stage the game was over and they had time and space to get shots off.
But this doesn't happen like people think, you know, and look, there will be criticism of maybe the setup and the structure of the senior championship, but this doesn't happen by chance, Oisin. The work that's gone in Crokes and that goes in other clubs as well, in Lucan and in, you know, Kilmacud and Vincent's and Bowden and all these clubs, that they're all trying at senior level, but they're all really putting massive effort at underage capacity as well. And, you know, if Crokes win by 25, 30 points, it's credit and kudos to them as well. And you know, some of the teams that come up will find it really, really hard to stay up. But Brigids, remember, have been in a couple of county finals, but we have to caveat all that with the fact that they were missing, you know, 5 of their main players today. Whether they're good enough anymore or relative anymore to a Dublin capacity, they're really relative in a club capacity. When you lose 4 or 5 lads like Paul Winters and Dunphy, and, you know, they're huge losses. McGurk, huge losses to Brigids. So, like I said, they'll regroup, and like over the next couple of weeks, they'll have to, because if they want to stay senior A, there's going to have to be honesty in the dressing room now, and leadership, and you'd hope and imagine that they will get that over the coming weeks.
We'll get to what comes next for both of these teams shortly, but first let's have a look at Kilmacud Crokes' second half goals. The first one coming from Roach just 3 minutes into the second half. What a run this was by Brian Hayes.
Yeah, huge run by Hayes, and in fairness, the Brigids defender did try and track back. Nolan had to come off his line an awful lot during the game to try and cover, because they didn't go with an extra defender. But again, even Grogan here was allowed, like Jack tried to cover back, but he was allowed, drop the ball, pick the ball. Again, Hayes comes straight down the centre. No, not really even a shadow on him, and, you know, Nolly has to come out again, and feet used really, really well, and a good finish.
So Kilmacud Crokes are through to the knockout stage, just 5-30 to 14 points the final score. What is yet to be decided in this group is whether or not it is them or Coola who will finish in second position. They play each other on the 16th of December at 5:30. That game will be in O'Toole Park. Did I say December? Yeah, okay, sorry, I meant September, obviously. Well done for spotting that. In the other game, still to be played in this group, it will be St. Brigids against Whitehall, but both of them are already in the relegation playoffs, I think, regardless of what happens in the other games. Lucan with the win today, that means they're on 4 victories, so 8 points. They top the groups, and of course they beat both Coola and Kilmacud Crokes, so they can't be caught regardless. Kilmacud Crokes and Coola play each other in the next game, and in theory, if you finish second, you get a better quarter-final, but like, that doesn't always turn out to be the case, does it? So yeah, the final round of fixtures in this group, not overly exciting from the St. Brigids and Whitehall point of view. I guess if you've got fitness doubts or guys you want to get game time into ahead of a big relegation playoff, you can use it for that, because effectively the result doesn't actually matter. But of course, again, in theory, if you finish 4th, you should have an easier relegation playoff. And I'll say it again.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So that's it from this game. Kilmacud Crokes getting the win against St. Brigids. Kilmacud Crokes marched on to the quarterfinals. For St. Brigids, it is the relegation playoff. Lucan have won the group. Folks and Nafina is coming up at 5:30. We will preview that one in full and give you the ramifications and everything that needs to happen in the group just before throw-in, which is at 5:30. We'll be on air at about 25 past. So come back to us for that. Remember, as always, you can join the conversation via social media. And the hashtag is GoAheadDSC. We'll be back shortly on Dubs TV, so join us for Folks Against Nafina, throw in 5:30.